The advent of black powder changed the face of modern warfare, and soon wars were fought with more advanced weapons than mere swords and archers. For more than a century, weapons based on black powder, like guns and missiles, have remained superior and unchallenged. But now, history has taken another turn, and this time weapons consisting of bullets and explosives are being overridden by something more powerful and more destructive. Unfortunately, that weapon of quick destruction has already been deployed in the field by the US Navy. Meet the Navy's new $13 billion aircraft carrier, loaded with high-tech and high-powered laser weapons that are going to change the game of advanced warfare. The United States of America's newest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, has been outfitted with the newest laser weapon. With tensions rising in the Pacific and the future of combat on the high seas still uncertain, this is the first time an aircraft carrier with this kind of weapon has been sent into action. The laser was developed by Lockheed Martin as part of the High Energy Laser Scaling Initiative, HELSI, which is sponsored by the United States Department of Defense and intends to broaden the scope of the directed energy industrial base and increase the precision of laser beams. As stated in the news announcement, the Department of Defense selected Lockheed in 2019 to grow its combined spectrum beam and high-energy laser design to the level of 300 kilowatts as part of the HELSI project. Even if the Ford and other ships like it are equipped with a battery of anti-missile defenses, none of them are able to defend themselves against China's most advanced missiles in a prolonged conflict. The United States Navy was in dire need of a new powerful technology that has the potential to repel all the threats from the advanced Chinese weapons, and that was only possible in the form of a laser weapon. This was also necessary to preserve its supremacy in the Pacific, and even merely to keep its ships afloat. This laser is able to shoot at the speed of light, which negates the speed of hypersonic weapons. It can reload fast to fight off swarms of drones, and it doesn't need reserves of ammo, which gives ships practically infinite firing chances. It is powered by a massive fuel source, such as Ford's Behemoth nuclear reactors, which match the requirements. As part of the High Energy Laser Scaling Initiative, the Office of the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, Research and Engineering, R&E, selected Lockheed Martin in 2019 to scale its spectral beam combined high-energy laser architecture to the 300 kilowatt class level. Lockheed Martin was able to boost the power and efficiency of continuous wave high-energy lasers while simultaneously reducing their weight and volume, which in turn lowers the risk associated with future attempts to develop high-power laser weapon systems. The design and construction of a high-energy laser with a capacity of 300 kilowatts were made possible by considerable investments in directed energy technology made by Lockheed Martin, as well as the contributions made by the company's devoted team in the state of Washington and Owego, New York. The team has more than 40 years of expertise between them in studying, creating, developing, and harnessing electromagnetic energy and boosting its strength. With this knowledge, they have created a novel security solution for the 21st century in the shape of a laser weapon. And now that this laser has been installed on an aircraft carrier, no ship, however advanced it may be, would dare come closer to its range in a hostile manner. This warship, the USS Gerald Ford, the US Navy's new aircraft carrier, which has already cost $13 billion to the US Exchequer, has a laser combat system capable of defending it against all types of anti-ship missiles. During simulations, the battleship proved successful in destroying targets, but it has not yet been put through its paces in actual combat. Because this vessel is the biggest aircraft carrier in the world and is equipped with the most advanced weapons system, it is going to be completely protected from any form of danger. It has shown very effective results in testing its missile interceptors, radar, and data distribution, which means that copies of approaching weapons have been completely destroyed. The sensor systems that have been installed on the ship have the capability of detecting any missile or other minute object that is heading in the direction of the warship. After that, it will activate the laser weapon system, which will engage the targets, and until they are destroyed, the ship's advanced sensor system will continue to track them. And if we are talking about the size of the warship, then the USS Gerald Ford is the biggest warship that has ever been built in terms of its displacement, which is measured in long tons and equals 100,000. It was envisioned to bring the United States into a new era of naval superiority while also modernizing the Nimitz class of ships that it would eventually replace. This comes at a time when China is making significant investments in its navy by constructing several new vessels, including patrol boats, frigates, cruisers, and submarines equipped with anti-ship cruise missiles. Additionally, owing to the laser weapon, the warship is able to get rid of its traditional armament system and the enormous storage areas it had for its ammunition. As a result, the ship has more room available than other warships, which are often loaded down with cannon rounds and other types of explosive armaments. The increased room on the flight deck makes it much smoother for the pilots to bring the airplane down to the warship runway. In addition to that, it frees up extra room for the crew to use while they are maintaining the aircraft. This enormous ship, which is 1,092 feet long and weighs 100,000 tons, has significant improvements over the existing Nimitz-class carrier. One specific improvement is that the Ford-class carriers are able to generate 3 times the amount of electrical power as their predecessors, who were only able to generate 1 unit. The Ford's electrical power source will make it possible for it to employ the newly built electromagnetic aircraft launch system, which is an improvement over the steam-powered launch systems that were used in the past, EMALS. This translates into a 25% increase in the number of planes the battleship can launch every day. Due to the large quantity of available power, the aircraft carriers of the Ford class are prime candidates for the deployment of laser and directed energy weaponry, such as railguns and missile interceptors. It is expected that the carrier will be able to carry powerful fighter jets like the F-35, as well as some high-tech drone aircraft that can operate from carriers. The factor that contributes to China's military might is the country's stockpile of cutting-edge anti-ship missiles, which are capable of being fired from land-based installations, naval vessels, and airborne platforms. Long-range missiles like the DF-21D, DF-26, and DF-ZF are its most lethal weapons. These missiles have the potential to cause unimaginable destruction and destroy ships from at least 1,000 miles away. Analysts think that the warhead on these missiles has the capacity to move while in flight in order to attack moving ships. The DF-26 has an even wider range than its predecessor, but the DF-ZF, a hypersonic missile that supposedly has the ability to reach speeds of Mach 10 and launch an assault from more than 2,400 kilometers away, is the most terrifying of all. Until now, there has been no weapon that can detect and stop it effectively on its way toward its target. Unlike the other 2 weapons, which fly in a typical arc that makes them easier to intercept, the ZF maintains a high degree of maneuverability as it re-enters the atmosphere and accelerates toward a target. This allows it to hit its target with greater precision. So, once it gets fired toward any target, that thing is doomed to be destroyed. But now, with the US warship's advanced laser weapons, these things aren't scary anymore. Because of its speed and its unexpected course, the DF-ZF would be very difficult, if not impossible, to stop with the defenses that are already in place. Last but not least, the laser weapon installed on the USS Gerald R. Ford is challenging every modern weapon developed so far. In terms of speed and precision, laser weapons are by far the most effective weapons, and the scariest part is that there isn't any protection available from them now, but will be in the near future. They are currently installed on warships, but soon they will be deployed among handheld rifles and guns. So be prepared for a weapon that is unmatched by any conventional one, and the destruction it can cause is still unimaginable and unpredictable. That's all for today's video, guys. What do you think of laser weapons and their strike capability? Tell us your views in the comments section. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. See you in the next video. Until then, cheers.
When it comes to defense spending, no country can compete with the United States of America. The country has a long history of being a leader in advanced weapons and military supremacy. However, that supremacy has also cost the United States a lot of money. In fact, China, India, Russia, the UK, Saudi Arabia, Germany, France, Japan, and South Korea all put together can't match the United States military's budget. That's why no country can match the highly advanced war dogs of the United States, especially aircraft. And talking about aircraft, the US has currently revealed the world's most powerful, most deadly, and most invisible aircraft, the new B-21 stealth bomber. The new B-21 stealth bomber is the most advanced and most expensive bomber up to date. And talking about expenses, it is said that no one can afford to buy this billion-dollar fighter jet. Let's take a look at why it is so special and why other countries such as Russia and China should be scared. The B-21 is one of the most technologically sophisticated aircraft that has ever been designed. Northrop Grumman, which has its headquarters in Virginia, is the company that is responsible for producing the B-21. It is anticipated that the manufacturing of the B-21 will incur costs of around $20 billion until the year 2027. Even though a significant portion of the bomber's design is still a closely guarded secret, the drawing of the B-21 that was provided by the Air Force provides us with some information about the layout of the new aircraft. Since the US Air Force released concept drawings and a name for the mysterious Northrop Grumman B-21 long-range strike bomber, LRS-B, we now know a lot about the new military plane. The new B-21 has a striking resemblance to the B-2 Spirit, its direct forerunner. In point of fact, the new aircraft had a striking resemblance to the Advanced Strategic Penetration Aircraft (ASPA) idea from the 1970s and the Advanced Technology Bomber concept from the 1980s, both of which eventually led to the development of the B-2. However, late in the game, the Spirit was redesigned to be able to operate at low altitudes after Dr. Paul Kaminsky's, the current chairman of the Defense Science Board, Red Team, issued a warning that the B-2 might have to resort to low-level penetration as the Soviets built new, more capable radars. This warning caused the Spirit to be redesigned. As a result of the modifications, the range and payload were both reduced, and the radar cross-section was made much bigger. If the current design of the B-21 is any indication of the path that the Air Force plans to pursue, the new aircraft will take the all-aspect stealth design of the B-2 to the next level. Particularly, the low observable architecture of the B-21 will make it more effective against low-frequency radars running in the UHF and VHF bands. These radars are becoming more popular as a method of countering stealth aircraft and are designed to operate in these frequency bands. Even the B-2 is beginning to lose its capacity to enter enemy airspace, as was stated by then Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Norton Schwartz, in a statement before the House Armed Services Committee in 2012. The technology they were built on for managing their signatures is from the 1980s, but the B-2 will become more able to stay alive in hostile airspace as time goes on. The design of the B-21, which is very close to the original high-altitude optimized B-2 design, was developed to defend against low-frequency radars, which are able to identify and track stealthy aircraft that are the size of tactical fighters. The F-22 and the F-35 are meant to operate in an environment where the opponent may be aware of their existence. In contrast, the B-2 and the B-21 are designed to operate in a way that completely avoids being detected by the enemy. With this huge flying wing design, the B-21 is able to minimize the low-frequency radar cross-section of the aircraft to the point that it is indistinguishable from the background noise that is intrinsic to those UHF and VHF band systems. This is conceptually analogous to the method through which a submarine blends in with the background sound of the water. However, much like every other stealth aircraft, it will not be visible to the naked eye. After all, stealth is not the same thing as a cloak that makes one invisible. The use of stealth technology just puts a delay on detection and tracking. The size of the B-21 and the amount of cargo it can carry will be heavily influenced by the propulsion technology that is readily accessible to power it. Because the LRS-B is not expected to go into service, so it is expected that the aircraft will unavoidably have to make use of an engine design that is already in existence. In addition, the profile of the engine must be such that it is compatible with a stealth aircraft. Because of this, a commercial aircraft engine variant with a huge bypass is almost certainly not possible, because such an engine would have an extraordinarily large diameter, even if it were very efficient. The modification of an existing military engine that is currently in production is the option that is most likely to be selected. Pratt & Whitney F-100 or General Electric F-110 engines, or their unaugmented versions, might be options to consider. These engines power the F-15 and the F-16. Even though it is an outdated design, the F-110 would provide the LRS-B with the commonality with the Rockwell International B-1 Lancer and the Northrop B-2 Spirit. These two aircraft also have engines that come from the same lineage. The F-101 motors from the B-1 were used to develop the F-110, which was then used to develop the F-118 motors for the B-2. An F-110 derivative does have its benefits, but the most probable option to power the LRS-B is an unaugmented version of the Pratt & Whitney 135, which in its present configuration provides around 28,000 pounds of dry thrust. An F-110 derivative does have its benefits. A variant of the F-135 could certainly deliver more than 30,000 pounds of thrust, while potentially enhancing its fuel economy with some minor adjustments, such as an enhanced bypass ratio. Even with the two of these engines, an LRS-B would have less thrust than the B-2, which has around 70,000 pounds of usable thrust, although there are signs that the B-21 is smaller than the Spirit. In the new B-21, the Air Force has included a strong electronic attack capability into the airframe of the aircraft. Electronic attack capacity is important to battle low-frequency radars operating in the VHF band, which are almost impossible to defeat using aircraft form and low observable materials alone. Electronic attack capability is necessary to counter low-frequency radars operating in the VHF band. The Air Force's own specialist at the Air Force Warfare Center realized the usefulness of jamming. Despite the Air Force's public narrative that aircraft such as the F-35 can fly into a high danger zone alone and fearless of being attacked, the reality is that the Air Force's public narrative is incorrect. Because detection is dependent on the signal-to-noise ratio, stealth and electronic assault always have a connection that is mutually beneficial to one another. A decrease in observables leads to the reduction in the signal, whereas the increase in electrical attack leads to an increase in the noise. Last but not least, the S-400 and S-500, which are air defense systems used by China and Russia respectively, are exceedingly threatening due to their high level of capability. Up until now, no aircraft has been able to outrun them, but the newly developed B-21 is going to completely shift the dynamics of the situation. Because of this, it is a big game changer for the United States and a major source of concern for both China and Russia. This is due to the fact that the B-21 can approach a target area at a high altitude, thereby avoiding detection. It can then use a large number of precision direct attack and/or standoff weapons from a better release altitude in order to destroy any site, including nuclear sites, runways, and any other hardened and buried aim points. The Chinese, Russians, and other countries are curious to know what kinds of missions the B-21 is capable of completing. One of the most important things to do will be to practice delivering nuclear bombs in order to maintain the nuclear deterrent trio. Despite this, the B-21, thanks to its cutting-edge networking capabilities, is also ready for a variety of traditional missions, and that's why Russia and China should be scared. That's all for today's video, guys. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. See you in the next video. Until then, cheers.
They say there is nothing scarier than the sound of a fighter aircraft in a war. And if that aircraft is the F-22 Raptor, also nicknamed the War Monster, then the target will be destroyed even before the sound of the fighter comes close. The next generation air dominance fighter, the F-22, is equipped with a sophisticated sensor suite that enables the pilot to track, detect, and destroy air-to-air threats before they know about their presence or detect it. In terms of its ground attack capabilities, the jet is able to strike ground targets from such great heights that the targets won't even know what hit them. And now the world is going to witness the next upgradable version of this war monster, which is much deadlier and can destroy China in only 30 minutes. The United States F-22 Raptors are currently undergoing significant upgrades. These undergoing upgrades and enhancements are designed to serve as a transition between the Raptor and the next NGAD fighter. The United States Air Force has built a small but elite group of pilots who fly the mighty Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor. Because Russia and China are deploying advanced new fighters and surface-to-air missiles, this task of gaining and maintaining air superiority over an increasingly lethal battle space falls on the shoulders of this group. The final years of the Cold War were the time period in which the F-22 Raptor was first designed. These stealthy, high-flying, supersonically cruising Raptors were meant to be able to take down the most dangerous missiles that the Soviet Union could throw at the United States. However, with the end of the Cold War and the following 1991 fall of the Soviet Union, the F-22 was left without a purpose, and development was halted. In fact, in 2008, the F-22 program was scrapped by both the second Bush administration and the Obama administration, for the simple reason that they thought major wars between countries were a thing of the past. However, as time goes on, it is becoming more and more clear that they were incorrect. Why the United States of America needs the F-22 Raptor more than ever before. Now, with voices on the left and right clamoring for action in Ukraine, where the Kremlin is once again destroying Europe, the Pentagon finds that it has no choice but to rely on its teeny-tiny fleet of F-22 Raptors if the call comes to establish a no-fly zone or a safe zone in that war-torn nation. The F-22 Raptor is the only operational combat aircraft that the United States operates, and Washington is able to rely on it to take on and defeat advanced air defenses such as the Pantsir missile system, the S-300, the S-400, the V-4, and most importantly, the Triumphador M, also known as the Prometheus. The Raptor is the only operational combat aircraft on which the United States can rely to defeat advanced air defenses. Furthermore, it is the only aircraft in the inventory of the United States Air Force that possesses a huge performance overmatch against latest generation Russian fighters such as the Su-30SM and the Su-35S, both of which the Kremlin has also deployed in the region. On the other hand, China's threats are a big worry for the United States. China is said to use strong fighter planes to patrol the airspace near Thailand, a country that is an ally of the United States. China has deployed a total of 150 J-20 fighter planes, which are widely regarded as the country's most powerful fighter jets overall. Additionally, China has sent Su-30 fighter planes across the Taiwan Strait. In June of 2022, one of these jets was involved in an unsafe contact with a military plane flown by the United States. When these two fighter jets are measured against other aircraft, there are only two others in the world that can compete with them. The first is an F-35, while the second is an F-22. Amid the tense relationship between the United States and China, the United States has already sent F-22 Raptor fighter planes to the Pacific area. And if there is a direct conflict between China and the USA, then China will most probably deploy its sophisticated HQ-9B and HQ-11 air defense systems. Both of these can intercept multiple types of targets, including manned aircraft, drones, cruise missiles, and tactical ballistic missiles, in a very intelligent and aggressive manner. So overall, the previous traditional fighters didn't have any chance to get past those systems. In order to keep a low profile and preserve their stealth capabilities, stealth aircraft like the Raptor are built to operate without any external weapons or fuel tanks. The Raptor would need to be able to carry more fuel than its internal reserves enable it to in order to engage in combat across vast areas of land, such as the Pacific Ocean, for example. In modern versions of the Raptor, the fuel tanks beneath the wings have a capacity of 600 gallons each. However, this does have the effect of making the aircraft somewhat less visible. New stealthy underwing fuel tanks and related pylons, missiles, and what could be new electronic warfare or infrared search and track pods are among the modifications. The additional fuel tanks that are being designed for the F-22 are intended to compensate for that part of decrease in range. Because of this, the Raptor will be able to go farther without drawing attention to itself. It is very important that they are engineered to eject off the wing and leave a smooth surface behind, since this is essential for the aircraft's ability to retain its stealth. The pylons have smart rack pneumatic technology built into them. This makes it possible to control ejection performance exactly and gives the pylons a smooth, wind-swept surface that creates little drag when there is no storage. A new electronic warfare suite, or maybe the long-awaited IRST capabilities, will be housed in a separate set of underwing pods that are included in the improvements. These pods are part of a separate set of underwing pods. IRST, which stands for Infrared Search and Track, is a passive method of identifying and targeting hostile aircraft. It is one of the most successful techniques for attacking radar-wicking stealth fighters and is one of the most commonly used acronyms in the industry. This enables stealth fighters like the Raptor to look for enemy aircraft without releasing radar signals, which would otherwise reveal their location. Additionally, it enables a fighter to lock onto stealth targets by using the heat given off by their exhaust. These pods might also hold improved electronic warfare capabilities that could increase the F-22's stealth by jamming adversary radar arrays. This would be done in an effort to make the aircraft more difficult to detect. Also, it is expected that the Raptor's ever-growing set of Beyond Visual Range (BVR) weapon systems will be shown off by the addition of a new missile, which may be a preview of the highly secret AIM-260 long-range radar-guided air-to-air missile that will be released soon. In short, that much capability and the deadly weapon it carries will be something to worry about for China and Russia. When deployed on air-to-air operations, the Air Force reports that each F-22 Raptor aircraft has the capacity to carry two 1,000-pound GBU-32 JDAMs, or 8 250-pound small-diameter bombs, in addition to pairs of both AIM-9s and AIM-120s. During a test of the F-22 Raptor's armament system, a record-setting 28 air-to-air missiles were successfully loaded and launched by an F-22 Raptor. In addition to that, what concerns China more is that the F-22 Raptor is able to carry the B-61-12 since it is compact enough to fit into the weapons bays of the aircraft. And if you don't know about the B-61, well, it is one of America's most dangerous air-to-ground nuclear weapons. A computer model run by the Pentagon projected that a counterforce attack by the United States on China's ICBM silos employing B-61 warheads detonated at ground level would result in the deaths of anywhere from 3 million to 4 million Chinese citizens. Furthermore, the F-22 is able to travel at a speed of 1,500 miles per hour. So a fighter carrying nukes and traveling at that speed at a high altitude is a major concern for the Chinese, especially if it is capable of dodging Chinese radars. In addition, the US is around 7,252 miles from China, so it would take around 4.8 hours for an F-22 Raptor to bring a nuke to China, and that's also undetected. If it had flown from the Pacific Ocean, it would have arrived in China in less than an hour, preferably in less than 30 minutes to destroy China with its B-61 warheads. That was all for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. Moreover, if you are new and haven't subscribed to the channel yet, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you won't miss any useful and informative daily videos. Thank you for watching and best of luck.
So the U.S. has now confronted China face-to-face over the suspected Chinese spy balloon shot down by the U.S. 2 weeks ago.
Have you ever thought that a spy flying object would have room over the most advanced and militarily developed country in the world, the United States, and they would have no idea of its presence? That's what's happening in the United States right now. A sophisticated spy balloon that traversed the United States at 60,000 feet for days allowed the Chinese to spy on the entire country. It wasn't a normal weather balloon. Rather, it was equipped with the most advanced and sophisticated equipment ever to have been produced by the Chinese. Unfortunately for the Chinese, now the US has already reverse-engineered that technology, which has already shocked the China. So what happened? How was the Chinese balloon able to stay undetected for days? And what kind of technology did it have that the US has reverse-engineered? We will talk about that in today's video. So without wasting any time, let's get to the point. Well, at around 9 o'clock in the evening on Thursday, Alaska time, American radar picked up an unknown object. So the United States Northern Command immediately sent an AWACS surveillance aircraft and an aerial refueling plane to monitor it. The object, according to the authorities, had traveled over land in Alaska and was then racing back over the sea toward the North Pole at a speed ranging from 20 to 40 miles per hour. The height of that unknown object, which was actually a balloon and more importantly a surveillance balloon, was similar to that of the Statue of Liberty. It was around 200 feet tall with a payload the size of an airliner. Solar panels were attached to the metal truss that was hanging below the balloon. It also featured pod equipment, which included high-tech equipment that could gather communication signals and other sensitive information. According to sources in the US government, it was equipped with machinery that was clearly designed for intelligence monitoring. This machinery reportedly included many antennae that were probably capable of gathering and geolocating communications. In addition, the balloon was equipped with a number of miniature rotors and various propellers, which enabled China to actively navigate the balloon over certain regions. The cargo that the balloon was carrying weighed more than a couple thousand pounds, according to General Glenn Van Herrick, who serves as the commander of the North American Aerospace Defense Command. Surprisingly, balloons can reach heights of about 90,000 feet and can be outfitted with a variety of tools that can help them find missiles, watch the ground, and maybe even protect themselves. On the other hand, this was not always the case with the Chinese surveillance balloon, which is why it was detected. While the reason why the balloon was so low in the sky and, as a consequence, visible to people on the ground is still a mystery. But the most obvious explanation is that maybe the Chinese brought the balloon down from its average height to closely spy on some places, or that it was due to abnormal weather conditions. Experts believe that China also wanted to demonstrate to the United States government and, perhaps more importantly, to the people of the United States that they could easily break into sovereign US airspace if they really wanted to. This could be one of the more psychological reasons why the country continues to choose to use balloons. China has now had the opportunity to evaluate the response of the United States. This might shape China's future planning and decision-making for even more escalatory moves, such as deploying a drone or a crewed aircraft. The order was given by Vice President Joe Biden, although he had intended for the balloon to be brought down even sooner. According to statements made by authorities from the United States, he was given the recommendation that the operation would be most successful when it was taking place over water. After careful consideration, military leaders decided that dropping it over land from 60,000 feet would put too many lives at risk. So when, in the early morning hours of Saturday, the enormous white orb was seen passing over the Carolinas on its way toward the Atlantic coast, jets were scrambled to take it down. Senior defense sources have said that an F-22 fighter aircraft launched a missile at the balloon at about 2:39 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, successfully piercing it when it was around 6 nautical miles off the coast near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. There was a delay of 1 day due to strong waves off the coast of South Carolina, so the process of recovering the balloon started on February 5th. When the debris was collected, the material was cleaned with salt water and then sent to the FBI so that it could be investigated using forensic techniques. In the Bureau's laboratory in Quantico, Virginia, the FBI conducted an analysis of the evidence that was retrieved from the debris field in the Atlantic. This included, but was not limited to, the balloon canopy, cables, and other electronic components that were recovered from the bottom of the ocean. After the initial examination, it came out that the balloon was part of a huge fleet operated by the Chinese military that has conducted surveillance over at least 40 nations across 5 continents in recent years. According to a report that was published by CNN this week, members of the United States intelligence community are looking into the possibility that the balloon, which took off from Hainan, China in January, did not intend to travel over the continental United States, but was instead detoured by strong winds. The weather may have caused the surveillance balloon to go northward, as opposed to toward Guam, which was the initial aim of the balloon. According to Air Force Brigadier General Pat Ryder, who attended a media conference right after the balloon incident, the balloon was carrying surveillance equipment in addition to a payload. Notwithstanding that he did not provide any more information on the payload, several sources claim that the vast majority of these payloads are comprised of high-tech optics and electronics that are utilized for surveillance. Hence, after the United States has reverse engineered all of the technology associated with balloons, they won't have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to develop and launch a satellite into orbit, not to mention millions more for maintenance. Because there is nothing else that can be done at this point other than attaching a camera to a latex balloon, installing all of the reverse engineered equipment, filling the balloon with helium, and releasing it into the atmosphere. A balloon of this kind may, with only minor adjustments made to it, be made to go to a lower or higher altitude. This provides the balloon with even more freedom in terms of how near it is to the surface of the Earth and for how long it wishes to linger there. The USA is now able to gather information around China with these kinds of balloons, which it typically couldn't necessarily get with a satellite in low Earth orbit, and they can do so without being noticed. This is a significant advantage. These kinds of balloons are able to cruise higher than most aircraft. which enables them to hide from plain view while they are flying low to the ground. In addition, because of the slower velocity at which they move, they are able to avoid being detected by radar. In comparison to a satellite, it is located at a lower altitude, which results in a higher camera resolution. So, a helium balloon may float in an ideal location anywhere in China for monitoring sensitive sites in high-quality resolution, and that's also they won't be able to be aware of its presence. So obviously, it wasn't any normal weather balloon, as they won't have thousands of pounds of sophisticated equipment, and now that the United States has already gained access to all of that technology, China is in shock, as now the US will also be able to hover its spy equipment over them, and that's also for days and undetected. That was all for today's video. We hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. Moreover, if you are new and haven't subscribed to the channel yet, remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you won't miss any useful and informative daily videos. Thank you for watching and best of luck. Ask any soldier, and he will tell you that the most important thing during wartime is the supply line. When it comes to supplying Navy ships via sea routes, the situation becomes even tenser. In fact, onboard resupply is widely regarded as one of the Navy's most dangerous tasks, even when there is no combat involved. To cripple any army, all you need to do is cut their supply line, and they will bow down to you. Luckily for the United States Navy, they have devised a way to avoid disrupting the supply of their ships in the ocean. Meet the Shield AI's VBAT and the Skyway's V2.6, advanced cargo drones that are able to transport supplies to moving ships more effectively than any other way. And with this capability in hand, there is nothing that can stop the Navy from moving forward and staying too long in the ocean. These tiny drones have made the world afraid of the US Navy, as they can rule the sea as no one has done before. So, what exactly are these drones, and what purpose will they serve? Let's take a look. It is risky to make replenishments while at sea, particularly if you do it by air, because they often require the transportation of relatively fragile goods. Because of this, the United States Navy has been able to conduct successful tests of drones that can transfer cargo from one ship to another while they are at sea. The VBAT and the Skyway's V2.6 drones can deliver supplies from one ship to another. The technology can make it possible for ships to remain stationed for extended periods of time in the front line, which is where they are most needed when there is a conflict. Normally, replenishment can take place between ships via helicopter or a cable rigging system only when both ships are moving and sailing parallel to one another. However, the challenge of sailing alongside one another while going at 20 miles per hour is not an easy task because of the storms and harsh weather, as well as the delicate balancing act involved. As of right now, the Navy is doing just that, conducting trials using drones to improve the safety of the whole process of replenishing ships while they are at sea. Most recently, a range of evaluations were carried out at the Naval Air Station Pawcaston River in Maryland by the Aircraft Division of the Naval Air Warfare Center, according to a news release issued by the Navy. The testing consisted of putting both the VBAT and the V2.6 drones through a series of missions that were designed to simulate naval resupply deployments. Both Shield AI and Skyway's air transportation were responsible for the operation of their respective unmanned systems throughout long-distance flights from ship to shore, and shore-to-ship scenarios, transporting a variety of goods to simulate crucial supplies. Both methods were effective in transporting goods across a distance of more than 200 nautical miles onto a ship that was already in motion. Unlike other types of drones, the VBAT and the V2.6 are compact enough to be flown from the flight decks of destroyers and other small ships. The VBAT is a tail-sitter aircraft, which is a kind of drone that starts off vertically with the nose in the air and then spins 90 degrees to transition to forward flight that is more efficient. The V2.6 drone launches itself into the air like a quadcopter and then deploys a pair of wings in order to fly ahead. The issue of accessibility is solved by the fact that both drones are capable of vertical takeoff and landing, which enables them to use helicopter flight decks, which every Navy ship possesses. The Navy estimates that fewer than 50 pounds of goods make up 90% of all logistical deliveries. Each of the drones has the capacity to carry a payload weighing less than 50 pounds. These are often transferred from one ship to another using pallets, or else they are slung beneath a helicopter while on a pallet. it may be possible to complete the delivery of a pallet's worth of goods with a dozen or more separate drone flights. The fact that these drones were delivered to the US military just when they were most desperately needed is perhaps their biggest selling point. Relations between the United States and Russia are at an all-time low as a direct result of Russia's involvement in the conflict in Ukraine. By its actions, Russia is proving that it has no concern for human rights, the sovereignty and territorial integrity of states, or the freedom of nations to select their own futures. This is not the next round of the Cold War. There is nothing cold about aggressiveness, which is both raw and forceful. The United States of America and its friends and allies in the transatlantic community are going to have to learn how to fight because this is a new sort of conflict. To begin, these drones are essential for transferring supplies, especially while US ships are away from their home port. Typically, these ships would be located in or near Europe in order to provide assistance to Ukraine. The United States Navy would still be able to get its supplies even if the sea route were to be shut down by the Russians, thanks to these drones. In addition to Russia, drones are continuing to move closer and closer to the heart of US combat. They are emerging as a key expenditure priority and a go-to answer for practically every military difficulty, and this is particularly true in the event of a confrontation with China. According to David Akshmanek, a former Deputy Assistant Defense Secretary for Strategy at RAND, these drone swarms proved to be the deciding factor in the case of a conflict in the Pacific Ocean. Previously, US drone swarms were successful in breaking through China's anti-access and area denial efforts, which ensured victory for the United States. So, looking at the facts, these cargo carrier drones are also going to bypass the Chinese anti-access area. According to Brian Clark of the Hudson Institute, who served as a former special assistant to the Chief of Naval Operations, drones are the only way to make up for an anticipated shortfall in the manufacturing of American missiles. Therefore, these drones will also be able to sneak over the Chinese blockade in order to deliver goods to American ships. And tell you what, China is already so terrified of these small carriers, which is why China has already started developing countermeasures. The LW-30 laser defense system, a vehicle-mounted drone killer created by China Space Sangjiang Group, was a standout product at the Zhuhai Air Show that took place in November in China. The LW-30 is an optimal version of a weapon that made its debut at the 2018 exhibition. It has a striking resemblance to the Silent Hunter system that is manufactured by Poly Technologies in China. According to China Sanjian and state-run media, the LW-30 is capable of destroying tiny drones that are located many kilometers away and just require a few seconds to swivel, fire, and move on to the next target. China Sanjiang believes that the cost of eliminating a drone with electricity is around a dozen yuan, which is equivalent to about $1.75. Using actual bombs is a far more expensive option. If the claims are accurate, then the Chinese business has triumphed over an age-old technical challenge, keeping laser fire on a tiny moving target for a sufficient amount of time to do harm to it. In addition, a business official said that the organization is striving to increase the power of the 30 kilowatt beam that is used by the LW-30 so that it can kill its targets in a shorter amount of time. But if these claims are true, then why were the US drone swarms able to bypass their radar system? It is mainly unimportant how much weight can be carried by the drones at the present time, since drone makers will ultimately create bigger, more competent drones with longer ranges and better load capacities. The essential point is that the Navy is exploring an entirely new transportation platform and assessing the capabilities of this technology. If a drone can fly to meet up with a warship that is 200 miles away from a coastline, it will save the warship a trip to port that would normally take days, and the drone will do that in 6 hours or a minimum of 12 hours round trip. During times of conflict, this might enable a ship to remain at its station for a much longer period of time while still being able to take on new supplies. In short, with this much capability, the US Navy will station its ships for longer periods of time, which is a major concern for both the Russians and the Chinese. That was all for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. Moreover, if you are new and haven't subscribed to this channel yet, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you won't miss any useful and informative daily videos. Thank you for watching, and best of luck. When it came to electronics and high-end technology development, Japanese products led the way. Because of its strong commitment to research and development, Japan has been able to make significant strides forward in a wide variety of industries, including automobile engines, the technology behind television displays, video games, optical clocks, and many more. If there had not been an atomic bomb in World War II, the Allies would have been no match for the sophisticated Japanese fighters and war machines. Now that more than half a century has passed, Japan has again started to produce some air beasts that are in direct competition with the most superior fighter plane, the F-35. Meet the JASDF's, Japan Air Self-Defense Force, 6th-generation stealth fighter jet, the Mitsubishi FX, also nicknamed Godzilla owing to its large size. It is Japan's first domestically developed stealth fighter jet that is expected to be in full operation by mid-2030. It is estimated that the total cost of manufacturing the aircraft would exceed 5 trillion yen, which is equivalent to $48 billion. The development and design of the airframe will be handled by Mitsubishi, with support from Lockheed Martin in the United States. Aside from that, the Japanese military company Mitsubishi Heavy Industries is also taking assistance from the British defense powerhouse BAE Systems and the Italian business Leonardo, who will all collaborate on the project. In addition to Avio, the aircraft engine will be developed by the British engine firm Rolls-Royce and the Japanese engine manufacturer IHI. The FX is a jet with 2 engines that has the capacity to mount 6 internal armaments. This advanced 6th-generation stealth fighter jet will take the place of the Mitsubishi F2, and it is anticipated that it will supplement Japan's fleet of 147 F-35 planes, which are seen as being inadequately equipped in comparison to other fleets. Japan was apparently dissatisfied with the F-35 planes due to their limited weaponry, conventional takeoff, and capacity to just carry 4 AIM-120 air-to-air missiles, which is fewer than rivals. So, this new aircraft would be able to carry more air-to-air missiles than the F-35, which can carry a total of 4. The internal bays of the Chinese J-20 and the Russian Su-57 are each capable of carrying 6 of these missiles, whereas the internal bay of the F-22 is large enough to hold 8. On the other hand, the FX will have a greater missile capacity than any of the others combined. In addition to this, it is anticipated that the FX will feature a network that functions well and will have excellent stealth performance compared to its predecessors. Regarding the design, the FX planes will be a combination of the stealth fighter F-22's architecture with the F-35 jet's sensors and electronics. The island nation's current efforts to create a homegrown fighter aircraft come after a hiatus of 40 years during which no such efforts were made. So we should expect this fighter jet to be so advanced that it will surpass 90% of the aircraft that are now in operation across the globe. And because of its size, the Ministry of Defense wants the aircraft to have a very long range as well as a huge cargo capacity. It is quite possible that the FX fighter will contain some of the technologies that were tried in the X2 technology demonstration. When compared to its forerunner, the FX does away with the use of traditional hydraulic systems in favor of electric actuators. Electric actuators were chosen rather than hydraulic systems after being evaluated by the Ministry of Defense as the most suitable option due to the intricate nature of the stealth fighter's internal design. It is essential that the internal weapon bay, as well as the intake air ducts, be taken into consideration while developing the stealth form of the aircraft. However, there were issues with installing the piping for the hydraulic system due to many design factors, such as the stiffness and the length of the pipes. The use of electric actuators removed the restrictions since the only way for them to communicate with one another was via electrical cabling. This makes the installation easier and loosens some of the constraints, which opens up additional options for the aircraft's exterior appearance. There are also other benefits, such as a decrease in overall body weight and an increase in the maneuverability of the aircraft. The control system, the power system, and the leg brake system of the fighter all make use of electric actuators. The FX uses a number of technologies and manufacturing design approaches to keep its body structure to a minimum while maintaining its lightweight status. One strategy is either lowering the number of fasteners used or doing away with them entirely. This was accomplished by adhesively molding composite components into a single unit. Integrated structure technology describes this approach. In this system, a heat shielding technique is installed around the engines to provide room for the use of aluminum alloys and carbon fiber reinforced polymers, which will help lower the overall weight of the area. In order to research and develop stress analysis standards for the FX, high efficiency and high accuracy structure analysis methods are used. These approaches entail the creation of finite element method models via the use of computer-aided design. The F2, which is the predecessor to the FX, was the one that first introduced integrated molding and CFRP material in order to reduce the overall weight of the aircraft. However, the molding technique was only used on the bottom plates of the main wings, so it was necessary to place fasteners along the upper plates of the main wings and other areas that used fasteners on both plates. In contrast, the FX extends the use of carbon fiber reinforced plastic and adhesive molding to cover the whole of the fuselage. According to the Ministry of Defense, switching to the new design techniques could cut the structural mass of the FX's airframe by 11.6% and the number of working man-hours by 66% when compared to traditional ways of production. A tiny yet specialized heat transfer system is fitted in the FX to supplement the air cycle and liquid cooling system in order to deal with the heat generated by the avionics. The simple heat transfer system was inspired by the way that vapor compression refrigeration works. Apart from that, integrated sensors are used by the FX in order to boost its detection capabilities against stealth aircraft. The sensors consist of a passive radio frequency sensor, an active electronically scanned array radar, and an infrared camera. Gallium nitride is applied to both the AESA radar and the RF sensor in order to increase their overall performance. This new revolutionary fighter jet is also equipped with a radio frequency self-defense system that can defend against threats posed by aircraft, air-to-air missiles, and surface-to-air missiles. Being notified to the danger and blocking its radio waves quickly and worldwide, the system is able to execute both ESM and ECM functions simultaneously. Antennas for the integrated ESM system are attached to the fuselage of the fighter aircraft along the wing and the tail flap. And in order to reduce the radar cross-section of the FX, its physical design incorporates serpentine air ducts and an interior weapons compartment. For the purpose of lowering the quantity of radar reflection, electromagnetic wave absorbers are installed in the air ducts and engines. It has been said that the absorber is made of a carbon-based substance. Radio waves may also be reflected through the use of metamaterials. Metamaterials are made up of several different types of materials, such as dielectrics and minuscule particles of metal. On board the FX, the Pulse Doppler system makes use of metamaterials as a component of radio wave reflection control technology. The FX makes the most of its passive detection capabilities in order to reduce the likelihood of its radar emissions being discovered. Its sensor algorithms also run its radar emissions in a manner that makes it less likely that they will be detected while they are in operation. To avoid further detection by radio waves, the FX makes use of plasma stealth antenna technology. The antenna functions by generating a momentary plasma by using the plasma's features which, when subjected to electrical control, may cause a change in the plasma's inherent physical properties. During the time that it is active, the antenna is able to send and receive many forms of communication. The FX would eventually replace the F2 with the ASM-3, which is why its development was prioritized. To counter the threat posed by incoming missiles, the FX will also be outfitted with a microwave weapon. The microwave weapon is set off by the stealth fighter's AESA radar, which uses very efficient and small electron tube amplifiers. That was all for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. Moreover, if you are new and haven't subscribed to the channel yet, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you won't miss any useful, informative daily videos. Thank you for watching and best of luck.
Ever wonder what a state-of-the-art aircraft looks like? And more importantly, which country is lucky enough to own one? Well, there are fighter jets, and there's the new stealth aircraft TFX by Turkey. And it's finally time for the big reveal. The Turkish fighter jet TF First X's prototype has reached the final assembly line at the facilities of TUSAS, the Turkish aerospace industries, according to a video published by Ismail Demir, the agency's president and head of the defense industry. The fighter is anticipated to be unveiled on March 2023 and to fly for the first time in 2025 or 2026. Before 2030, service entry is not anticipated. Although the Turkish defense sector is known for creating unmanned combat aerial vehicles, UCAVs, and more sophisticated armed drones are in development, producing a fifth-generation fighter is a priority. A multi-role stealth aircraft with air-to-surface and air-to-air combat capabilities, the future Turkish fighter is also known as the Milli Mahari Uçak, MMU, or National Combat Aircraft. Twin engines with an afterburner each producing 30,000 pounds of thrust will power the sturdy and maneuverable jet. The first 5 TFX prototypes are equipped with General Electric's F-110 engines, which are already used to power the incredibly efficient F-16s. 10 engines have already been purchased for this purpose by the Turkish aerospace industries. However, the Turkish government is opposed to mass producing a foreign engine. As a result, it has maintained select Turkish business, like Tuzaz Engine Industries Inc., TEI, and Kale Calip Incorporated Company, to either work alone or in tandem with international partners to build a homegrown engine. A TF6000 engine with an afterburner and 10,000 pounds of thrust has previously been created by TEI. Mahmoud Exit, the general manager of TEI, claims that by expanding the TF6000's capacity, they can create an engine with 35,000 pounds of thrust. Additionally, according to some unnamed sources, TEI has the necessary expertise as a result of its cooperation with overseas partners. It aims to offer engines from alternative suppliers if the manufacturer's business Tuzaz is subject to any penalties from the US government, which has caused Turkey several issues in its search for a multi-role fighter jet. Tuzaz and British company BAE Systems worked together on the design. A low radar cross-sectional density, internal weapons bays, super cruise capability, high-precision standoff weaponry, low observability, and optimized fighting radius are some of the most prominent features of the TFX. Turkish businesses will provide electronic hardware, radars, and avionics. The aircraft is anticipated to have a maximum speed of 2.2 Machs, with a maximum length of 21 meters, a width of 14 meters, and a height of 6 meters. It will be somewhat smaller than the F-22, but larger than the F-35. Since it has become a necessity and will be a force multiplier in many ways, the Turkish government is quite keen to see its home-built jet take flight as soon as possible. First off, the National Combat Aircraft, which hasn't been given a name, will replace the roughly 240 F-16s in the military's aging fleet. It was intended to replace the F-4E-2000 aircraft with F-35A aircraft so that the latter could fly alongside Turkish F-16s. However, purchasing F-35s does not appear to be feasible given the deterioration of Turkish-American ties caused by some factors, including Turkey's purchase of the S-400 missiles from Russia. On the other hand, since the F-22 and TFX are air superiority fighters, they ought to be able to fly quickly. Therefore, the maximum speed of the F-22 is Mach 2.25, which is higher than the speed restrictions set by DSI. It is not difficult to grasp why a speed limit is an issue when we take into account that the F-22 can fly at Mach 1.5 even without afterburners. For the time being, GE F-110 engines will power the TFX. After that, it would reach a peak speed of 2,470 km per hour, or around Mach 2. But in the future, GE F-110 engines can take the place of a better and quicker Turkish-made engine. And with these engines, TFX may go faster than divert less supersonic speed limits. Additionally, Turkish vendors made a sizable profit when Turkey participated in the F-35 programmed by supplying Lockheed Martin with parts. Pentagon confirmed that Turkey will continue producing parts for F-35 fighter planes throughout 2022 after it was dropped from the cooperation. This economic activity will recommence once the TFX project gets underway, and maybe much more money will be made, especially through exports. The fighter will therefore be a last line of defense for Turkey. In addition, the Turkish army will pay less for its jet purchases. Being independent of foreign aircraft suppliers and self-sufficient will be the most obvious benefit of all. In terms of fighter planes, Turkey now relies nearly entirely on the US. Due to US pressure and political rifts between Turkey and certain European nations, purchasing defense equipment from those nations may also be impossible. Therefore, embargoes won't have any impact on the Turkish military's ability to provide weapons when TFX is in the air. The Turkish Air Force will have a complete dominance over the region in this fashion. However, as the fighter takes shape, friendly nations may likely express interest in it sooner or later. Texal Kotil, the leader of Tuzaz, has already urged other countries to collaborate with them. There are rumors that the project will include at least 2 nations. After the maiden flight, it won't be shocking if other governments declare their participation in the TFX program. The finance issue in particular will be handled in this aspect, allowing for further advancement. Although there are obstacles to overcome, such as those related to fabrication of components and embargoes, Turkey's aim to create the TFX is highly encouraging. The most well-known drones, air defense missiles with 100-kilometer range, and land-to-land missiles with a 600-kilometer range, are all produced in Turkey today, despite claims made just 10 years ago that the country was unable to create any machine of superior quality. The new aircraft's conceptual design work was done between 2011 and 2013, and the full-scale development phase started in 2016. However, the Turkish Air Force's need for a 5th-generation fighter was not as pressing when the TFX was first developed. Turkey was planning to purchase 100 F-35As as a Level 3 partner in the Joint Strike Fighter program, with more of the short takeoff and vertical landing F-35B variant possibly going to the Turkish Navy. But in 2019, Turkey was expelled from the Joint Strike Fighter program because it refused to give up its ambitions to buy Russian S-400 air defense systems, which the U.S. believed constituted a serious security danger. Additionally, the nation played a significant role in the manufacturing of F-35 parts, a task that is now being phased out. The TFX program becomes even more crucial as a result of the cancellation of its intended F-35s, but it also presents new difficulties. That seemed more unlikely for a while due to the broader deterioration in ties between the United States and Turkey. The partnership has lately begun to grow indications of growth, and there has even been talk about selling some F-16s. Last but not least, there is the possibility of a locally made engine, which has previously been suggested for the TFX. However, given the time required to develop such a power plant, it is unlikely to be available until 2038. The Turkish Air Force will consist of around 240 F-16C and D Fighting Falcons, which make up the majority of the combat fleet. But this new reality has forced a reevaluation. It was formerly intended that the F-35A would initially replace the outdated F-4E 2020 Terminator aircraft before being deployed to brand new fighter units. As a result, the TFX would have taken the position of the F-16s. That's all for this video. If you liked it, make sure to hit the bell icon and subscribe to our channel.